Alright, so let's talk about Highlander 2, The Quickening. This is a bad movie. It's a bad movie in concept. Highlander didn't need a sequel, yet it has a number of them. And this is the first one and probably the biggest budget effort at doing it. So this got on the wrong side of fan rage and on the wrong side of just general sense. So there's a lot of reasons why this movie's bad. The script was bad to start with, but then apparently I'm hearing all sorts of weird things that an Argentinian insurance company took over production and tried to make it into the highest potential grossing movie possible. I don't know how true that is, but that sounds hilarious. And also, apparently, Christopher Lambert only agreed to return if Sean Connery would be added into it. And for those that have seen Highlander, Sean Connery gets super dead in that movie. So they have to resurrect Sean Connery somehow. And you'll notice in this movie, he doesn't really do anything. He shows up, says some funny things, and then gets killed by a fan, like an actual spinning fan thing. So he doesn't really have a part in the movie, but he's here. Also, probably the best part of this movie is Michael Ironside plays the new bad immortal who's opposing Christopher Lambert. And I've got this quote here I've got to read. So this is from Michael Ironside on Highlander 2. Yeah, listen, I hated that script. We all did. Me, Sean, Chris. We all were in it for the money on this one. I mean it. The script read as if it had been written by a 13-year-old boy. But I'd never played a barbarian swordsman before, and this was my first big evil mastermind type. I figured if I was going to do this stupid movie, I might as well have fun and go as far over the top as I possibly could. All that eye-rolling and foaming at the mouth was me deciding that if I was going to be in the piece of shit like this movie, I was going to be the most memorable fucking thing in it. And I think I succeeded. What a great quote. I can't find the source on that, but I'm going to choose to believe that it's true. That sounds like Michael Ironside to me. And really, he is the best part of this movie. I'll recommend this movie as a good, bad movie. And I know a lot of people would disagree with me on it, but the set design is so weird. Just the concept is so weird. Like, the plot of this movie takes place 20, 30 years after the events of Highlander. Like, it posits in the distant year of 1999 that the ozone layer has depleted entirely, and we have to live under a giant dome to protect us from the sun. So it's a dystopian wasteland that nobody sees the sun, and everybody's super sad, and there's a lot of crime. So that's weird decision number one. It's set in the future with old Connor McLeod, and in what I'm going to refer to as the Superdome. Anyway, it's actually called the Shield, but I'm calling it the Superdome. So that's the weird decision number one. Old Connor McLeod just kind of holding it up for a little while at the beginning of this movie. Second weird decision. It is revealed, in conflict of the first movie's premise, that the Immortals are aliens. That the people that fought in the game that was depicted in the first movie were all members of a rebel alliance. It was fighting against an evil emperor on their planet, and they are banished. I think the quote was, "To the future. Only one of you will survive, and you will have the choice to live out your days in the future or to return here." Whatever. They can only die by getting their heads chopped off. Whatever. Didn't need that backstory. Didn't need to know they were aliens. Whatever. So that it takes a while for these two plot lines to fall together. Like, on the one side with the futuristic Superdome, they're starting to learn these things, like you're introduced to a terrorist leader who's saying that outside the dome is actually safe now and that they're only keeping the dome up to make money. And Connor McLeod runs into her eventually. And then on the other side with the alien Immortals, they realize that Connor McLeod has won but has not made his decision, I guess, to live out old age in the future or come back. But he never indicated he had any memory of this, so I guess he didn't know he had a decision to make. So he's about to die. He's super old at this point. So their decision is, well, they actually say this, well, he's going to be dead in 2 weeks anyway. Why are we being sent to kill him? It's like, shut up, kill him, just go kill him. And of course they go, and these dudes look ridiculous. They look like porcupine assassins. Their hair is all like porcupine spines and stuff. I'll see if I can find a picture of them. And they're sent to go kill him, and of course, because they show up and they're immortals, the game's on. So the minute he kills one, he goes young McCloud again. And alas, the game has begun again. He goes all, super lightning stuff when he kills one, and it makes them all happy, or whatever. So he beats both of those guys and is now young McCloud once again. And he's perplexed where they were trying to kill him. But he does get his memories back, I think, at this point, of, being an alien or whatever. It's also established that Sean Connery's character has a link with him that goes beyond death. So when he's, getting his memory back, he's, screams his name. And then we get Ramirez back, and he just shows up somewhere. Just pops into existence on stage at a Hamlet performance. And he pretty much just for most of this time on screen is just sort of wandering around doing funny things. Like going to a tailor and interrupting a Hamlet performance, and generally not doing anything helpful. So that's just what Ramirez does in this particular movie. Sean Connery is kind of funny in it. He and Michael Ironside are both pretty damn watchable. In any case, it's unclear how Sean Connery is going to tie into the plot of this thing, and unfortunately it turns out he just doesn't. So we have, now that those dudes failed, Michael Ironside decides to come himself into our world and decides to hijack a subway train and just cause general mayhem and just giddily laugh about it for a while. So now we have those two plots, and then we've added Ramirez, so we've got a third sort of plot in there. And so McCloud joins up with the terrorist leader talking about the dome. Apparently McCloud, after he had the quickening because he knew everything, I guess, his girlfriend dies, and he decides to devote his life to figuring out how to save humanity from the sun. And he actually designs the Superdome. Great, whatever. Guess he had all the time in the world. Anyway, so McCloud does his McCloudy things. Ramirez finally finds him. I think so Michael Ironside finds McCloud on holy ground, and they talk about just sort of nothing. They just sort of taunt each other and things. I think they have one sword fight where McCloud gets his ass handed to him, but then Ironside doesn't kill him for reasons. And then Ramirez finds him, and then those two things are consolidated. Ramirez is there to help Lambert's character, McCloud. And then the evil company that runs the Superdome, led by John C. McGinley, making his third appearance in my bottom 100 reviews, which is impressive, by the way. Yeah, he's not the only one. I feel like Christopher Lambert, this is his second or third. Anyway, John C. McGinley's at the head of this corporation, and Michael Ironside just decides to hand his way into this boardroom. And they decide to shoot him because he's being a dick, and then he just gets up because he's immortal and stuff, and then takes over. I don't understand why, but he takes over the corporation in charge of the Superdome. It never really makes sense why he did this, just to keep track on McCloud, I guess, or something, and technology or reasons, because they're both evil and they might as well be evil together. So, okay, all of our plot lines are together now. So, the guy who designed the Superdome with McCloud is thrown into a prison, and then they decide to go break him out of prison, and that doesn't go so well. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense. While they're in the prison trying to save this guy, Ramirez decides to save them from an evil fan that's about to fall on them and cut their heads off. He has this sort of pseudo-inspiring moment and then dies. And that was his purpose in this movie, I guess. And then they sort of go above the Superdome to see that the air is all good and stuff. John C. McGinley gets killed because he mouths off to Michael Ironside, which is generally a bad idea. Gosh, what else? Ironside and Lambert eventually have their sword fight. It's not a really good sword fight. I was kind of disappointed. Ironside loses. The Superdome comes down. All is happy. All is happy and good. I was kind of expecting Christopher Lambert to become, old dude again, because he finished, or I guess he'll just age again normally. Honestly, it doesn't matter. This movie was so poorly received that even though they did do Highlander sequels after this, they totally, they never acknowledged this movie happened. It's not part of canon. The movie is technically called Highlander 3. It does not call itself Highlander 3 usually, because it tries to be a new Highlander 2 to make up for this movie. And apart from that, actually the director of this movie went back and did a director's cut called the Renegade version. That's actually the only version I think you can find on DVD now. If you want to watch the original cut, it's on Hulu. But if you want to watch the reimagining director's cut, the way he wanted it to happen, cuts out a lot of the alien crap, but still doesn't make sense, honestly. It's still bad. It's still not great. I would not recommend it. Go full Alien. Go with all of the weird decisions. Go the original version on this if you're going to watch it. Because it's so goofy. Michael Ironside just hamming it up everywhere. Sean Connery's doing a lot of hamming. John C. McGinley's his usual sort of horrible self. It's fun. I like it. It's a fun, bad movie that is just perplexing in its inception. It's got enough fun stories behind it of like Lambert wanting to walk off the minute he read the script. Sean Connery only agreeing to do it because Lambert demanded him be in it. The guy who played the bad guy in the first movie actually didn't turn down an offer to appear in a cameo. Turned down a cameo. Michael Ironside, that quote I read is just brilliant. Yeah, this is just... They're trying to expunge all record of this movie, and that's why everywhere you look for it, you mostly find the Renegade version. But if you can find the original one, Highlander 2: The Quickening, I think it's good fun. It's good fun. So that's a recommend. It's no longer in the IMDb bottom 100, which, I mean, I'm not super surprised, I guess, but it's still, it's an alumni of the list. I recommend watching it because it's fun.
Greetings, Highlander. You called?
Let's have some fun.
In all their centuries on Earth, nothing could have prepared them for the Quickening. Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Highlander 2, The Quickening.